What's up guys, Drew here, and today I am doing a video response to the lovely Trish at BeanBagHagWag. It's her Samhain tag. So first she asked, what does Samhain mean to you? And what she wants to know is, what exactly are you celebrating? So for me, Samhain is significant for a couple different reasons. First off, for me it is the new year. All through my life, I remember being a child and not understanding why January was the mark of the new year. Why would you cut it off halfway through the season? Why wouldn't it be before or after a season? It just really did not resonate. But that's the way we do it. So I went with it. And when I learned that Samhain is considered the witch's new year, I mean, at first I was like, huh? And, but the more that I sat with that and thought about it, yes. Particularly as where I live, it only starts to feel like fall at about Samhain. We've had a few cool days and one chilly day, but I mean, it just really, for the most part, is pretty warm. Honey, I'm making the video. Can't have you sitting outside the door whining. At any rate, it doesn't start to get, the temperature doesn't start to really show signs of being fall until around Samhain. So with regards to the cycles of nature, it makes more sense to me that Samhain be the new year. Now, of course, I still, it's obviously still going to be 2018, but it's the beginning of a new year cycle for me. Also, it is this time of sliding into death, winter. And it is this time for me, I wholeheartedly embrace this honoring the dead and connecting with and being closer and more mindful of those who have passed. And of course that was suggested as being, but it just fits. It fits. And maybe that's because I was raised with Halloween and it's a spoopy time of year. I don't know. I have to think, honestly, that it's deeper than that. I honestly think that it is that way, and that we recognize and have throughout history and resonated with this energetic signature of death and dying and those who have gone before us. So when I celebrate Samhain, I am celebrating the closing of the last yearly cycle and the opening of the next yearly cycle. And I am also celebrating life and death. So the second thing she asked is, what does the thinning of the veil mean to you? Now, I did a video about this, my VR to Raw Spirit, where I talked about what the thinning of the veil is to me, and I'll just quickly go into it. Basically, for me, we are here in this earthly existence, and as such, we are somewhat removed from the other, from, put whatever label you want onto it. And that is necessary for us to be here and to be conscious of the earthly things that we are here to do and accomplish and for a higher purpose. But at this time of the year, it's easier for each and every one of us to sort of touch the other, to see the other, to interact with the other. So that for me has a lot of, this could be alternate lifetimes, this could be ancestors, those who have passed, deceased, it can be the Fae. There's a number of different, anything that's other, really. It is more readily at our disposal to interact with these things. So one way to say that is that the veil is thinning, that the veil between worlds. There are many ways that you could word that, but one that has lasted for a certain amount of time and is in the sort of collective consciousness, the popular vernacular, if you will, is thinning of the veil. And that does describe this sort of experience that we have at this time of year. Many of us anyway. And then thirdly, she wanted to know, do you believe in reincarnation? And if so, how does that tie into ancestor work. This one is so complicated. Okay, so I do believe in reincarnation. I also believe that it is not required. I don't believe that you are on some cycle that you have to keep coming back, even if you choose not to. I believe that we do have cycles and we do have sort of karmic wheels, if you will, but that they don't necessarily have to be worked out on the earth plane. I believe that a big part of the reason why we come to this earth plane is that it is so dense and that things are so intense here and that lessons can be learned much more quickly here. It's not that we can't learn the same thing from elsewhere. It's just that it might take a lot longer. It's the same like reading and actually doing. There's a different level of understanding that comes along with each of those. Just mine. I'm just answering my beliefs on these topics, okay? So, just because, my mom died, that doesn't mean that she came back or that she's going to come back. She may never come back again. She could, should she choose to. So how does that tie into ancestor work? Well, first let me explain my idea of ancestor work. When I say, I like to say the ancestors rather than my ancestors, because while I do feel that I work with my ancestors, I feel like I work with ancestors outside of my bloodline. So ancestors, witches who have walked before, shamans who have walked before, women who have walked before, mothers who have walked before. I mean, any category that I fit into, I can work with ancestors of that path, that aspect. Whether I am blood related to them or not, they are still, in a way, to me, ancestors, my ancestors, our ancestors, the ancestors. So there's that. Now, second, I believe that there is more to our DNA than just genetic makeup. I absolutely believe that there is a wisdom and a knowledge that is passed from one generation to the next in our DNA, in our genetics. There's information, there's experience, memory there. I believe that. So working with my ancestors, even if an ancestor reincarnated, it's still within me, their experience. Also, I believe that when we leave this plane, we are not ourselves. I am Drew. When I die, I will no longer be Drew. I am something else. I am the purest part of me that is connected to my higher I am presence, the highest part of me, the spiritual being that is sort of projected into me. This is not Drew. Drew is a product of this environment and of this world, and there are pieces of me that are, my spirit permeates me, but it doesn't go the other way. I don't permeate my spirit. So when I shed this body, I will shed a lot of shit, and I won't be Drew anymore. So even if I go to work with my mother, for instance, she's not my mother. She is my mother, but she's better than my mother ever could have been. She's more whole and complete and healthy and beautiful and just beyond anything that my mother in her flesh and blood state could have ever been. So working with her would be a very different experience than working with my actual flesh and blood mother. I also believe that the spirit world is more quantum in nature than ours. So in quantum physics, I'm holding this bottle and you see this one bottle because you're focusing on this one bottle. But if you turn your head enough that you cannot see this bottle can be in a million places at once. But then again, when you turn your attention to it, it's focused right back in that spot because you're focused on it. This is the way that I feel about spirit, the spirit realm. They are not bound by our concepts of time and space. And I can have my dear soul sister who passed, who's not related to me by blood, but I consider an ancestor, right here in front of me. But she can also be with 10 of our other friends at the same time. She's not limited in that way. So, as far as reincarnation affecting working with ancestors, for me it doesn't, because again, I don't have to have the spirit of that ancestor, who isn't actually the ancestor anymore, just the core piece of them anyway, in my presence working with me, because if they're related to me by blood, it's in my DNA. As far as if they're not related to me by blood, and even if they are, again, I believe that we are this incarnate being, and that we're sort of, oh God, it's almost like Avatar, and that our highest self is not fully in here. It's just part of it is in here. It's bigger than this ever could be. And we're tied to it, and we can connect with it. To me, my higher self is my guide, my primary guide. And that's my understanding of it. That's my experience of it. Take it and do with it what you will, believe what you want, but this is my experience. And so even then, even now, my higher presence could be in 20 different places as well as within me. So even if my mother reincarnated and she's part of her, the projection, the connection with her higher self, her spirit is in that body, there's still more of it out here that is quantum and can do whatever the hell it wants. It doesn't have to, it's not, these things are beyond our understanding. They're beyond our comprehension. They're beyond our concepts. So they are not limited the way that we are. So even if I'm wrong about how it works, even if I'm misunderstanding, I'm right in that they are not limited. They don't have the limits that we do. They're beyond that. I just have to step outside of my earthly confines and think bigger, which is a huge part of the reason why I love quantum physics and sacred geometry and all that, because these concepts and these ideas and these theories blow apart these mundane set realities that we have, these rules that we have for how the universe and the world and reality works. And that, I don't know, it helps set me free. And I feel it helps me connect to the spirit realm and to spirit better. Okay, anyway, this has got way more complicated than it needed to. So that's my response. Thanks for listening, and until next time, much love and gratitude.